Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we talk about console launches and how they could be better.
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, that makes a man insane. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am your PlayStation Fox.
And I am Des, but there are a limited amount, and we will not be able to provide everybody with
You're supposed to say Xbox
this holiday
Series
season. Perhaps if you reserve yours for January 2021, we can get yours by then. But we do not go.
I need you to stop. This is podcast poison. Yeah. So you have our intro.
I don't know.
topic.
Yeah, you went for it.
Well,
and
I
don't
was
even
the
know
one
what
who
you're
did
doing.
like the whole thing. Whatever. We're bad at this. Let's move on.
So we play a lot of video games.
Whatever.
But
I could stop whenever I want.
I don't know. I didn't even ask that, Fox. You're
I'm
okay with
fine.
it? I think the
Sound
video
like
game
everybody else.
that we play more than any other game is Call of Duty, of course.
I'm a big Call of Duty head.
We both play a lot of the duties that
Yeah,
call.
I have a lot of little kids call me a duty head, and I assume that's because I'm really, really into Call of Duty.
How many duties have you called, would you say, in your
I
life?
haven't. I was talking about this with my brother-in-law yesterday. I haven't played a Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 3.
I have never played a Call... No, that's not true. Never played a Call of Duty. I played Medal of Honor. But the good news for us two very, very dedicated Call of Duty players
Yeah.
and PlayStation owners...
We have a PlayStation.
Yes, we each have PS5s. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War players on PlayStation will earn XP faster.
Yep.
This is an article from PC Gamer. Ironic.
Yeah, it is ironic.
Other bonuses include extra loadout slots and battle pass tier skips. So it turns out that if you own a PlayStation, you will be better faster.
Well, yeah, it's pay to win tactics have evolved to buying a console. That's a new pay to win strategy. It's not just microtransactions, it's macro transactions. You got your micros, you got your transactions, and you got your macro transactions.
So here are some of the bonuses that you get. There's the Battle Pass bundle bonus. Unlock new gear and goodies even faster. PlayStation players that purchase the $20 Battle Pass bundles will get an additional 5 tier skips. That's a total of 25 tier skips.
25 tier skips? Man, I wish I had a tier skip when I was young and got broken up with.
Anyway, PlayStation Party
bonus. I was crying.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I get it.
let's
That's
skip the
good.
tears.
That's good. PlayStation Party bonus. Teamwork makes the dream work. PlayStation players that play together in parties receive 25% bonus weapon XP. The bonus still counts when playing with cross-platform teammates.
Interesting.
Double XP bonus. PlayStation players can look forward to exclusive monthly double XP events, 24-hour duration, so prepare to boost your rank. And finally, extra loadout. Be prepared for any scenario. PlayStation players get an additional 2 loadout slots ready for customization. Available when create a class unlocks upon reaching level 4.
I understand. Not all of this falls under this category, but a lot of these things fall under the category of, hey, we know you don't like playing our game that much, so if you pay for this, you don't have to play it as much. You can skip by these tiers faster. It's fine. We understand you don't like doing this. The game's bad. So if you want to play less of it, buy a PlayStation.
What other benefits should we see from our PlayStation playing Call of Duty? Here's what I say. Ready? PlayStation 5 players exclusively receive 1 nuclear warhead drop per round.
Just at the beginning of the game,
general.
you can just drop it.
If you can find a way to hide and survive, you can win every time.
Yeah, you can make it happen. The game is just about you running away from everybody else.
Just hiding in as deep of a hole as possible.
Why don't we just go classic cheat codes, like unlimited ammo, God mode, just spawn any vehicle. That's really what it is to a certain extent. Let's move into some news.
Okay. I want us to just begin with this because Fox and I talked about, there's not much to riff on this, but it is a very true thing. Microsoft had a tweet out recently, and I'm gonna quote here.
One of the best tweets
I
in
took
history.
a screenshot. I came across this on accident while I was browsing my Twitter, and Xbox. We can't believe we have to say this, but please do not blow vape smoke into your Xbox Series X.
Series S, that's fine.
Yeah,
Series X,
is fine.
No, don't do it.
There are people out there that, for whatever reason, they wanted to like make it seem like the Xbox was overheating, and so they did it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, they wanted
So
to make
they bought a console and then said, "I want this to look bad."
I guess,
What?
or
I
just
thought
for the Vine.
I guess part of me assumed it was just because vaping's cool, Xbox Series X is cool. Combine the two, I'm pretty cool on Twitter now. Like look at my cool TikTok where I'm doing vape tricks into my little fridge of a console.
If anybody ever asks me, "Hey, what's Xbox Live like?" I'm just going to show
here's
them
this
that
tweet.
tweet.
Here's
Like,
this tweet.
This says everything right
That's
here.
everything. That's all you need to know. Unfortunately, there's sad news. Baby Yoda has been canceled amid accusations of genocide.
Oh, I just watched that episode.
You watched last week's?
Oh my gosh.
Where he eats the eggs.
So
The child, I don't know, he or
The
whatever.
child,
The child
yes.
eats the eggs. I legitimately, at the end of the episode, turned to my wife and was like, I don't like Baby Yoda right now. This is
Yes.
the first time where it's like, wait, no, stop doing what you're doing. You're a villain right now. You're eating these children.
Now the argument. Okay, so minor spoilers.
Yes, not for the episode, but for a thing that happens.
Right. The Mandalorian is transporting a person.
Has a passenger.
Again, be as vague as possible for lack of spoilers.
The episode is called The Passenger, I think. Or
Yeah. Has a
something like
passenger who is carrying their unfertilized eggs.
Yes.
Their own unfertilized eggs.
Yes, they're children.
Yes. Well, not quite children yet because they're unfertilized.
Okay,
but
sure.
yes. They're unfertilized eggs. And Baby Yoda eats like 3 of them. At least 3 of them.
Yeah, I think a little more than that.
Yes.
Gets a good couple bites in there.
And it's even worse because the person is claiming, like, this is the last of my race.
Yes,
This is it.
It's not just some rando. It's like, this is my hope for my line's future.
What have you been up to, man?
I've been watching. So in the last couple weeks, I haven't had much. Couple movies. It's very different this week. I've got a lot going on. Watched a bunch of movies. Played a couple games. I'll start with movies and then get into games. I watched. I finished off the Alien quadrilogy. I watched Alien Resurrection, which was better than 3, but also still just they lost the magic after 2.
They really did.
They didn't. Like, I read something about, like, James Cameron was interested in doing another one, and I was like, man, why did you not give that guy anything he wanted to make another one? Or Ridley
Right.
Scott was also interested at one point. It's like, why not? Don't give it to
Make
randos.
it happen. Yes.
Disappointing overall. Yeah, not great.
Well, on that same note, every little once in a while, I'll just pass the remote to my wife and be like, hey, pick a movie, whatever you want.
Oh, no.
And it's always the weirdest thing. We watched Sundown, The Vampire in Retreat. This is an 80s B movie.
Okay.
It was a so bad it's hilarious movie. It was definitely that.
All right.
It's honestly worth watching. Go watch Sundown,
but, like,
The Vampire
with people
in
so
Retreat.
you can laugh at it together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
With people, though, so you can all laugh at it together.
Yeah.
Here's the basic plot. Ready? Vampires have come to a point. Vampires are real. They've come to a point in which they can live in sunlight, but only with, like, big hats and sunscreen on. And they have decided we are going to live on synthesized blood and no longer human blood.
Okay.
And they all live in the middle of nowhere, like, desert type town. Like, essentially, imagine in between California and Arizona.
Ugh.
That, like, abandoned desert type area. Yeah, exactly that.
Armpit of America.
Quartzite. Yes. Yeah, exactly that type of place. But their blood factory breaks down and they have to bring in an outside guy to come in and fix it Meanwhile, he's kind of figuring out there's more going on here than meets the eye. His kids and wife are figuring it out. There's also other things going on, like a rebellion. The movie can't quite make up its mind if it's a action film, if it's a comedy, if it's a shoot 'em up Western. Legitimately, like, there's gunslinging,
Gotcha.
Horse riding, things like that. It cannot make up its mind.
It was going for a lot of things and didn't have the intelligence to try to, like, mesh them together.
Exactly.
I'm going to spoil the crap out of this movie.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I don't think it's worth watching. And some of the reasons why I don't think it's worth watching, will spoil it. But it's The Dead Don't Die, which is a Jim Jarmusch movie with Kylo Ren.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's say Ben Affleck. Dang
Nope.
it. No, his name's Ben Solo.
Kylo Ren.
He is...
Yeah, whatever his name is. And Bill Murray are the two main characters.
Adam Driver
and Bill Murray. It is a zombie movie set in a small town, Centerville or Center Point, New York, or something like that, where basically zombies appear, and it's
I saw a preview for this. I know what you're talking about now.
a very deadpan, flat humor kind of thing, comedy. It didn't really work. There wasn't enough actually funny moments or like zombie comedy. Like the obviously the zenith of zombie comedy is Shaun of the Dead. For sure. This did not really have that. Like, it didn't have as many funny moments as it needed, and it also was weird to the point where it's like there's not really any point to that.
Yeah. Well, as long as we're stringing together themes here, I also watched a dark comedy, but a very good one. One that I hadn't seen in years. And an older one, so this is back when you could be a dark comedy without having to be incredibly grotesque or, have limbs flying everywhere, kind of like
sometimes
what it's become today.
Sure.
But Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yeah.
The musical, directed by Frank Oz.
With Rick
Moranis. Yes. And it was a freaking delight. It was hilarious. Rick Moranis kills it in this movie. The music is fun and upbeat. And the comedy is great.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I think
I watched it with friends one time. And
if you like musicals, absolutely watch this. If you are moderate to musicals, definitely watch this. If you dislike musicals, then don't.
Sure.
Because it is a musical.
Last movie, real quick, I watched The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Ooh.
This is one that my wife chose. So clearly, our wives have better, differing, I won't say better or worse, differing tastes in movies, because The Talented Mr. Ripley was pretty interesting.
My wife's willing to take chances.
My wife? Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
No, we watched Talented Mr. Ripley. It's a 90s, early 90s, I would say, mid 90s maybe.
Right. Pierce Brosnan, right?
No, Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's about Matt Damon, not about Matt Damon, but about this guy who is tasked to go to Italy and convince the son of a rich man to come home because he's just off spending money. And I don't really want to spoil it, but it's about, like, Matt Damon basically becomes obsessed with this guy, and he's kind of a con artist a little bit, and it's a drama, interpersonal drama, and it was unsettling to a certain extent, of just because it wasn't like overtly like a thriller or like just like dark or anything. It just had little like hints of this guy's like kind of off his, like just not really in the right mind.
Over the Moon. This is a Netflix original movie based on a Japanese folktale, and kind of the premise of the movie is that there's a girl whose parents are deeply in love, but then the mom dies, and then years pass, and the dad has kind of found someone new, and the girl is not dealing with that well. She thinks that the only love that he should ever have was between her mom and him, and her mom had always told this folktale about the woman who lives on the moon and how she is always looking for her lost love as well and will never give up looking for her lost love. So she wants to go to the moon to find this woman to prove to her dad that it's okay to have only one love in your whole life.
And that girl became Elon Musk.
It's true. Absolutely.
Founded SpaceX.
No, but it is a gem of a film. To me,
animated?
Yeah, animated film.
Yeah.
To me, it's on par with B-movie Pixar films. So like Onward, things like that.
Okay.
Still very good movies.
I'm gonna move on to games.
Yep.
I played and finished Ori and the Blind Forest over the last couple weeks.
Nice.
Because I want to play Ori and the Will of the Wisps because it's
Right.
going to be a contender for best like indie game
Best
or whatever.
indie game.
I didn't really see what people like. It was a very competent Metroidvania game. Had a whatever story about, like the forest has been in shadow and you have to restore it. I've seen that before. There was nothing really that interesting about it. Lots of skill, like real good challenge if you wanted to challenge yourself, like do some extra bonus, like hidden stuff, Metroidvania type stuff. I just went straight through like the main story. What I was shocked by or just disappointed by or found to be a weird mechanic is that you made your own save points in the game.
Yeah.
And it was not just like you have to make your own. It's actually a limited resource that you need to use it. And I get it. It was interesting. It definitely set it apart from other games. But it also meant that there were lots of times, and I 100% understand this was on me. My fault. They explained how to do it, and I just forgot. But there were many times where it's like, man, I made a lot of progress and then died, and I have to go and do that again now. I would much rather have traditional just save points, like, checkpoints from time to time. And I'm pretty sure I've heard that Will of the Wisps has that. They kind of got rid of that, which I'm pretty happy about. But there were lots of points in the game where I was super frustrated because I said, I already did this, and now I have to do it again. What I will talk about is Astro's Playroom.
Yeah.
It's the pack-in game, basically a 3D platformer, just demonstrating what the new control, the DualSense can do on the PS5. And we both got our PlayStation 5s at 6 a.m. yesterday. Got home. I set up the PlayStation. Then we were on a Zoom call for 5 hours. And 2 minutes after that Zoom call was over, I platinumed it. Like I was playing all the way through. And that's not to say that it was not. It was very easy. It wasn't like a challenge. Most of it I just got through pretty quickly, one try. But it was incredibly fun. That really sold me on like the new stuff that this controller can do. The DualSense is awesome, as well as had a lot of fun, like just kind of blast you through the history of PlayStation. You collect little artifacts, and it has little jokes about all their stuff and different references to a bunch of exclusives and a lot of stuff like that. So very fun, worth playing, especially since it's just comes with the PlayStation. You're not going to have to play more of it, but then platinum it in 5 hours and delete it, and you got an extra 11 gigs on your hard drive, so that's fun.
The last thing I'm going to talk about is I have started playing Bugsnax.
Bugsnax.
This is a free game with the PS Plus for this month, and I'm like, you know what? I'll try it out. We watched the preview for it a while back, and it looked fine.
It looked like a weird little indie game.
Right. Holy crap, it is delightful.
Apparently.
It is really good. Not only does it have a genuinely interesting storyline about two people who are in love and they're both missing and you're trying to find them and you're interviewing people to get clues and figuring out these clues. Really good. But also, there's a Pokemon.
It's a good one.
It's so good that it got caught in my throat. There's a Pokemon element to this.
This is a Pokemon.
It's a Pokemon, and not just a Pokemon, it's a Pokemon with a little bit of Pokemon Snap involved in it.
Yeah.
Because
once I saw that, I was like, yep, I'm sold.
Yes. There are, number one, you can take pictures of everything. So that helps. That's how you log things. But number two, in Pokemon Snap, there's this thing where, you know what? If I throw this Pokeball here or I throw that food there, then this thing will run out. And if that runs out, then this falls down. If that falls down, then I can get this perfect picture. In the same way, you can only catch some Bugsnax if certain events have happened.
Right.
And you have to interact with those things in the environment or little tools that you have to create this moment to catch these Bugsnax. And it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so
I'm pumped
good
to play it. My strategy, my hope is that I'll just play one game platinum it and then move on to the next. I'll do that with Spider-Man Miles Morales for sure. Bugsnax is on the list though.
So what I think I'm going to do is I've already started playing it. I'm already probably 2 to 3 hours into it, and it's supposed to be like 10 to 15 hours long.
Yeah.
Completion is, 15 to 20. I think I'm going to play a little bit more and then start recording it.
Yeah.
So that I can, a lot of what I'm doing is figuring out, how do I catch this Bugsnax? Like, how do I do this? I can recording it on my second file. I'll already know all of that stuff.
Yeah, not have like a half an hour of how do I do
What
this?
if I
What is this?
What if I cover that in chocolate and then roll it around a bit? Those are things that you do in this game. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's all I've got.
And that's all I've got. So let's say we get down to the nerdy gritty.
I guess.
Before we do that, though, I want to let you guys know that if you're hearing this right now, it means you're listening to an edited version of the Nerdy Gritty. It's our standard version that we put out, making this first part of it a lot shorter, a lot more palatable. As I'm saying this, we've recorded 52 minutes.
52 minutes.
Of just things we've been up to, of news articles. That gets cut down to about 15 to 20 minutes.
20?
Yeah.
Look, even we don't like listening to ourselves.
That's not true.
That is
not true. If you enjoy listening to us and you want to hear more of our just banter about the things we've been up to, news articles, things like that, we really suggest that you head on to patreon.com/DesmondFox and you become our tier 2 or higher member in our Patreon. Because at that point you get access to the director's cut of the Nerdy Gritty, in which has an unedited version, nice long conversations, a lot of laughing about all kinds of things, movies that are just ridiculous or different articles that are hilarious. Fox cuts out some of these entirely to make this first part a little bit more palatable for the general listener, somebody who just wants to, get into stuff pretty quickly. Now, to be clear, the second half, the actual Nerdy Gritty, is never edited down. We keep that conversation in there in its entirety. So, if you are interested in hearing that extended version, please help us out on Patreon. If that's not something you can do, we totally understand. It really does help us, though, when you tell a friend, when you share this online, when you spread the word however you can. We do not pay for advertising, so this would be really awesome if you guys could help us out in that way.
So last week, as of posting this, last week was the launch of the Xbox Series X/S and also the PS5. They launched in the same week, 2 days apart.
I'm looking at my PS5 right now. It's beautiful.
It's a big old baby boy.
It's a beefy boy.
Those things, man, I have mine literally on top of my PS4.
Yeah, I saw that.
And my PS4 looks like a Switch or something.
Exerting dominance.
Yeah. Anyway, so they both launched in the same week, 2 days apart, so essentially at the same time. And it was a big deal because launches are always a big deal.
Right.
And always interesting. Have mixed results. Mixed to negative, generally, results. So this week we want to kind of talk about, first we'll talk about a little bit of some stats we found about the sales as well as our perception. We don't have a lot of sales stats. They're keeping that close to the chest still. And because it's been kind of a mess because of lots of overselling. We'll talk about that. We're going to get into that.
Right.
But some quick stats. We did find out that apparently, so the Xbox, Microsoft has always really lagged behind in really international sales, but also specifically Japan.
Right.
At a certain point, they stopped selling Xboxes there because it was they did not sell enough to make it worth it. Yeah. But they did have pre-orders there, and for the X and the S, and they both sold out instantly.
It's crazy.
Which is really interesting. Definitely, I think I would have to say that the whole maybe monthly deposit thing that you can do, the monthly payment plus the Game Pass is probably a big deal there.
I would also guess, and this is somebody coming from some knowledge on the marketing side of things,
sure,
that they launched 20% of what they normally
severely
launch,
we got 10 Xboxes, Japan, who wants them, and then they just paid people to pre-order them so they could put this stat up there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not exactly that.
No,
but
not that. That's a joke.
in a similar way that they just really, really limited the numbers hugely in Japan so they could say it's sold out here too.
Instantly sold out is not necessarily a big deal because they've always sold. They've always been able to sell systems there, just maybe not very successful.
Right.
So maybe there are some fans, maybe some Americans that live there now really wanted a Series X. Anyway, and also apparently the PS5 pre-order wise sold more in the first 12 hours than the PS4 did in the first 12 weeks.
That's insane.
Like the PS5, like video gaming has been for a very long time one of the biggest entertainment market as far as sales go, compared to movies, compared to whatever you got, and it's not slowing down. Like the PS5 is just exponentially growing.
Man.
So huge sales there. And now, because that's really the stats we can find, those are really the stats we can find. So let's just talk about kind of how we've perceived the launch going. What did you kind of see? Not you guys, you guys,
Des, all of us in here.
Hey, hey, everybody, quiet down. Okay. You said you'll break us our cake. That's a deep cut. So what was your perception of how this launch went, just based on like news headlines or just anecdotally, I guess?
Right. Well, a couple of things. Number one, full disclosure to you guys, this is our second round of recording this part.
I was going to avoid that and just seem professional.
The truth is, I know I'm going to say a lot, like I said before. That's just something that's going to happen, and you guys are going to be like, what is he referencing?
Yeah.
We had some audio issues, and we had to cut the nerdy gritty section of this, and we're re-recording. But, so if I reference previous statements, it's from the
lost file.
I apologize. Yeah, the lost file.
Yeah.
Other than that, it generally negative. Like, I pretty much have a universal negative opinion of console launches.
Sure.
Which we'll get into more later.
We will get a lot into.
Yeah, we really will. But
there's going to be a big dunk sesh.
Let's kind of begin here focusing on like the positives and whatnot. And what I will say is there was plenty of breathable air during the launches.
Well, breathable, but maybe filled with a deadly virus. So that, I mean, yeah, breathable, cool, but
no, I will say that I actually really liked a lot of the approach of the console launches this year in the advertising side of things. There was a lot of information, a lot of the live streams. I really want to tip my hat to Microsoft this year because they did a really good job of making their system seem approachable and desirable, which is something they have not done before.
They definitely have seemed like they took in criticism.
Yes.
And said, okay, what can we do?
Yeah.
What can we change while still pursuing the whole graphical fidelity power aspect of what we like to do? Maybe we'll do two systems.
Because they seem to, in previous years, approach it with more of an elitism. Like, if you get the Xbox, you're cooler This is
the true console for gamers. Capital G with a Z.
And I think it was off-putting for a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
I could see that.
This year, they did a lot of changes, and they tried to make it as accessible as possible, particularly with their payment plan and everything like that. And I really like what Microsoft's doing. I am very, very interested in getting one, and I may do so, yeah.
And, I'm thinking right now, I wonder if that elitism perception, I'm not saying, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I do understand where you're coming from. I wonder if that came from first-person shooters have existed for a very long time in games, but the whole, like, multiplayer deathmatch first-person shooter, like, really, like, get together, let's have a LAN party kind of thing, really exploded with the original Halo. There were games that already did that. You had like your Unreal Tournament and stuff like that, but Halo like took it into another level is how I look at it. And now that first person shooter like multiplayer is such a massive profitable thing and both systems are essentially doing it like equally well. I wonder if that was like a thing that they could say for a while but now doesn't really give them the clout that it used to.
Right.
We have another Halo. Cool.
Which was pretty much the response.
Yeah, cool. Also, it's going to be like a year at least before we see it, and we weren't impressed by the demo you gave us.
It was really unimpressive.
Part of that's just on, like their, maybe their game development or whatever. But I wonder if just that was the huge thing for a while. We have Halo, really all about the multiplayer, first-person shooter kind of deathmatch thing. Now everybody has that. It's not as much of a thing that boosts their perception.
Right. It's not as good of a thing for them anymore.
Right.
For sure. But so Microsoft did a really good job, and I think Sony did as well. Just you could tell that Sony focused a lot on inclusion this year, which I thought was really cool. We talked about in our PS5 release video how there was, I think, one white male protagonist, and it was Hitman, like an established person.
Right, an established character.
Right, and Agent 47. And it was just really cool to see how the consoles both are just becoming much more accessible, and gaming in general is becoming much more accessible.
Right, yeah. From my perception, like, I've talked about it a lot, but the first thing I look at is what games do you have and what games do I want to play? What games can I only play in your system? That's going to be the biggest seller for me. And once again, PlayStation just kind of dominated in that. They have for years now.
Yeah.
Several systems now. And they once again dominated with just lots of really, like, sequels I'm really looking forward to. The remake of, like, Demon's Souls is one that's, like... I was joking with you about this at one point, but I was like, maybe this is the Souls I'll be good at. And I get that. I have that feeling every time. And if I play it, I'll probably still be bad, but I want to. So that to me, PlayStation really, like, to me though, the PlayStation exclusives are kind of balanced out by the Game Pass.
Yes.
Sure, maybe they don't have all the really great exclusives that I'm looking forward to, but they have lots of games for cheap.
Yes.
And okay, that kind of balances out to me, like that's their response a little bit.
Back when I worked at GameStop, when I had the ability to rent, quote unquote, a game at any time, we could take any game home for 3 days, play it, and bring it back.
Get a
that
feeling
way we could
for
have
it
knowledge,
to have conversations with customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ability to do something like that, like we do with movies. We come every day and we're like, I watch this movie, I watch this show. Be able to say, I played the first 2 hours of this game, all on Game Pass.
Yeah.
I didn't have to buy every single one. I just have Game Pass.
Sure,
so
here's my
That's really, it's really attractive to me. It is.
It is. It's a big seller.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean,
we talked about the controller before.
We did. That was the big one.
I really did want to talk about that.
That is part of it. Yeah.
Because the PlayStation 5 controller, the DualSense, is spectacular.
It is. I have never really cared about controllers.
Right. Until
now. Because the DualSense or the DualShocks have largely been the same.
Yes.
As far as ergonomic feel and the buttons you have. You have like the touchpad on the PS4, but never really cared about that as a touchpad. Right. I don't really care about the touchpad on this one either. But like just the other features like the haptic feedback, which used to be called Rumble, but now is much more specific and much more dynamic.
Yeah.
And then the triggers are really cool too. I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man, and just having that bit of tension while you're swinging through the air definitely adds a little something that you don't even percise most of the time.
Right.
But it just adds to the
It's
experience.
immersion.
Immersive.
Wonderful.
As well as the better speaker that there is in there. It's not. I don't immediately turn off that sound anymore like I did on the PS4, and sometimes I don't even hear it. But I know that it's again immersively, maybe even like subconsciously affecting, like helping immersion, I guess. So that's the biggest boost, I think.
In Bugsnax, when you catch a Bugsnax, it will say its name from the speaker, so like shish kebab.
Oh yeah.
And it's the cutest thing every time. And I love it.
That's
great. Yeah, so. No, the PlayStation 5 controller is fantastic.
Yeah, DualSense is a home run.
It really is. It really is. Okay, so
I think that's all the positive.
Yeah, we're about done with the positive there.
The actual launch experience.
11 minutes.
Let's talk about our launch experience.
Oh yes,
because
that was surprisingly good. Also,
we are still in the middle, and not in the middle. Actually, can't tell when the middle is.
Right.
The pandemic is worse right now than it ever has been, at least in America, and. So, that's going to boost your pre-orders. Probably more people at home more often. Going to want, maybe, depending on financial ability. But we pre-ordered. I know the pre-order process was kind of a mess for everybody.
Yeah, and that was, there is actual quotes from Sony executives to Jeff Keighley being like, oh, you guys will get plenty of notice for your PlayStation 5 pre-orders. And then one day they were like, pre-orders are live now.
Yeah.
I found out by chance from somebody on Facebook, and then I rushed, and it turned out that Walmart had jumped the gun, and they're like, we're gonna do pre-orders now. Forget you. Walmart admitted it.
Walmart was a villain, but also,
yeah.
Who's gonna do? Like, you think PlayStation is gonna be like, no, those are all invalid, because people are not gonna be happy about that.
Yep.
But our experience, we both. Full transparency, you stayed up till midnight. I woke up at midnight to try to get a pre-order at Best Buy. We got there at 6 a.m. and stood in line. The actual experience was very nice.
It really was. So the pre-order experience was, just clicking refresh, starting at 11:58.
Yeah.
Clicking refresh over and over again until midnight, and then I pre-ordered it, and then I went to sleep. So not that big of a deal.
Sure.
But then, we made an appointment because Best Buy was really concerned with a huge line. I mean, all retailers were really concerned with huge lines and big gatherings, obviously. And so we made an appointment. We showed up at 6 a.m. There was somebody 6 feet in front of us, and probably
there were a couple people that showed up
6 feet behind
after
us, and like 5 employees. We walked in. They said, "Hey, can I see your ID?" Cool. Your name, Steve Valdez. Cool. All right.
Here's your PlayStation.
Here's your PlayStation. Get out. Yeah, and it was so easy.
Yeah, they didn't have. I know you were wanting another controller.
They had no. You had to have pre-ordered any accessories.
Yeah,
no media remote, no controller.
Usually,
no
you can kind of count on those things because those aren't as high demand as the console itself, but not a huge deal.
Right.
But anyway, that actual experience was fine. That was just the actual like retailer experience, though. So
right.
Can't really put that on PlayStation.
But a retailer has a big deal to do with launch, which we'll talk about soon.
Sure. That's true. They are pretty interconnected. But that's all I got as far as like how it went for us and our perception of just how it was handled.
Yep.
Fine, but the process was still pretty bad because it always is.
Because it always is.
So let's get into that.
Here's why console launches are garbage in
yeah,
general.
so okay, Dunk Sesh alert.
So every single time a console launches, and this started right around the PS3, Xbox 360 era, maybe even the PS2, but there's this purposeful over pre-ordering. Like there's this purposeful attitude
when it comes from the retailer.
So,
okay, Des was a GameStop manager.
Yes.
For a while in Southern California, Anaheim, California. Big town, lots of people.
Yeah.
He's gonna have and what were the systems that you kind of oversaw the launch for?
So, either was an employee or oversaw the launch for.
They're experieing the retail side of it.
PS3, Xbox 360, Wii, PSP, Nintendo DS.
A whole bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big, a whole generation, essentially.
Yeah.
And, okay, so Des has a lot of knowledge, and not a lot of it's pretty bad. For the
retailers specifically,
retailers.
Like the manufacturer, so Sony and Microsoft are partially responsible for this as well.
Sure,
but retailers in general are actively deceptive, and their 100% goal is sales at the detriment of the customer.
It is not pro-consumer generally.
Right. Absolutely. So generally, the way that the whole process goes is, you will get we have reps, like every store has a rep from Sony or Microsoft and Nintendo that will come in and visit and talk or do whatever you need to do. And they'll let you know, hey, we're expecting you to get X amounts of systems.
Okay.
And once that happens, the retailer starts taking pre-orders. Now, for the Xbox 360, we took, I'm going to lowball guess 150 pre-orders, maybe 200 pre-orders. Requiring a $50 deposit.
Okay.
And then I think we got 40 systems, something like that.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. And because the retailer themselves, so this is Best Buy, Amazon.
Yeah, it's not GameStop alone doing this.
I cannot think of a single retailer that does this well. Their goal is to sell every system and create demand.
Yes.
There is a psychological thing where you go in knowing this probably will not be here, I probably can't get it, and then if you see it or if you have the opportunity to get it, you just instantly want it more.
Right. There's part of it I think is FOMO, fear of missing out. This thing is big, and if it's sold out, it must be popular, so meaning I want it more. And also just like it's a basic like quote unquote law of economics is supply and demand.
Right.
When the supply is low, demand will be higher. Like when you there's scarcity. It's created scarcity so that like even in like a holiday season as we're coming up on now, like it's harder to get. Okay, it's really just the movie Jingle All the Way.
It is. It's a Jingle All the Way.
There's going to be a lot of Arnold Schwarzeneggers running around trying to find that elusive turbo PS5 PS5 man, and it is. But the problem is that we're talking about here is that it's not just it happens every time, what can you do about it? No, it is a very manufactured quote unquote problem, but it's really just a problem for the consumer. It's not a problem for them because it sells more.
Because retailers could wait to do their pre-orders.
Yes.
They could choose to get a much better estimation of how many systems they're going to get.
Right. They could only pre-order or sell pre-orders for the exact number of systems they'll get.
Right.
And then say, sorry, that's all we're getting. Like, they could do that, but if you got 50 extra people wanting it, then...
There's this fear from a retailer. There's two sides to this. So, number one, there's a fear from a retailer, and that is, if we have a pre-order and then that person doesn't come to pick it up, that system is just sitting there when we could sell it.
Sure, yeah.
Which, okay, you tell people, we will hold this for 3 days.
You got this amount of time.
Then we will sell it.
Right, put it on. I'm sure that's the thing on the receipts now or whatever.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
I was told for our PS5s that they would hold it for 5 days.
Yeah.
And then they're going to sell it. And so that's already not that big of an issue. It absolutely will sell. That is unquestionable. These consoles will sell.
Right.
Second of all, the retailers know, particularly the ones like GameStop that take cash pre-orders or take, money the deposits for the pre-orders. They know that if we get 500 people to pre-order with us and give us their money, we are guaranteeing they're going to come shop with us.
Sure.
And at that point, I can just wait and they'll just come to us. Maybe I don't have that system for 6 months. I don't care. They gave me their money already.
Right. And you told me on the first attempt here, on our first pass, that you had lots of people who basically just gave you free money because they had a pre-order, they put a deposit down, but their system didn't come for 6 months. And you would actively call them and say, hey, we have your system, but it's been so long that they already purchased it somewhere else or, for whatever reason, didn't come get it. So you just got free $50 from that person.
Yeah, a lot of people would, because we'd be like, hey, we need your phone number and your email address. And they would be like, I'm not giving you my information.
Oh,
so we'd get fake phone numbers, fake email addresses.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we try to contact people and be like, hey, you gave us your money.
Right.
Do you want to come with the system or do you want your refund? And I again, easy... 20 to 30 people never came back. They just gave GameStop a free $50.
Just a donation to a struggling business. Well, now it would be. Then it wasn't.
And another trouble of this is that manufacturers, there's Sony, Microsoft, particularly, there's this competition of who's going to move first.
Yes.
And
we saw that huge this year.
Yes, very much.
We got info on like prices and stuff a month before they came out, essentially.
Because everybody was just waiting and waiting. Right. And so they're waiting and waiting for prices, and then they're waiting and waiting for release dates.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of data that shows that whichever console releases first traditionally will sell better.
Right.
Because there'll be much more excitement for it and much more
if I remember correctly, with like, I don't know what, I think it was like the PS3 360, there was a significant difference in between. Like, by significant, I mean like months.
Yeah. I think the 360 released pre Thanksgiving,
right.
And then PS5 or PS3 was Christmas time,
right?
And the 360 outsold for a while,
for a good long while. Not in but yeah, it was a much better launch as far as sales go.
Right. And so, because of this data, everybody's waiting for a release date from other people back and forth. Meanwhile, they're making as many systems as possible,
sure,
in their actual factories. Because there is a limited amount of
you can't just make
Xboxes
infinite.
and PlayStations in the world. And so setting a release date, they have to recognize how many functioning systems do we expect to have by this time, by X date. And then they have to take that number, let's call that X. Then they have to divide X to every retailer on the planet.
Yes.
And so there's this really big struggle from the manufacturer side of, okay, we got to wait for Microsoft before we can jump, or Microsoft wants to wait for Sony before they can jump. And it's really who's going to flinch first. Because if you wait too long, then people aren't going to care by Christmas season.
Right.
People are going to think, you know what, I already bought all the other things. I'll buy an Xbox or PlayStation later.
When it's cheaper or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so it's this big game of chicken, which hurts the consumer.
It really does. So I'm going to give you some maybe if they did it this way, and you can give me your take on that one, on these. What if, so here's theory number one. What if Sony or Microsoft just started pre-orders way before, and I'm going to throw a curveball this time because I did a little different this time.
Right.
What if there was a window of pre-orders?
Okay.
So let's say 6 months before they... Obviously, there would be have to be a whole big change in how they do it because you would have to know the launch date pretty early. 6 months before launch date. So, if it's November 10th, then whatever 10th. May 10th, I think, maybe. That's when pre-orders open, and they close 3 months from then.
So there's two problems with that.
Okay.
Problem number one is the game of chicken we were just talking about.
Sure.
They don't want to admit how much the price is going to be. So
yeah, the price is such a huge part of that.
Yeah. So let's say, okay, we're opening up pre-orders for PS5. We'll take a $50 deposit from you. Cool. What's the total going to be? I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
It could be $700.
Well, yeah, they're not going to tell you. Yeah,
PS3 was $700.
No, I would not purchase something if I did not know the total price.
Right.
I won't do that for things at a grocery store that are probably going to be $4. You don't tell me what the price is. I assume you're trying to pull a fast one on me.
Exactly.
Not going to buy it.
And so, not knowing the price that far ahead of time, particularly that far ahead of time, because once you have that much time, you can do those pre-orders or whatever else, and then Microsoft can change midway through and say, we're giving you a $50 discount if you do this. And now the 360 is cheaper, and now the attitude changes, and whatever else.
Things would change so much.
Right.
And your pre-orders might be, you don't want it anymore because you want it, and it'd shift the balance. Okay, all right, so yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's problem number two.
Sorry, there's more problems.
Problem
it's all
number
bad
two
today.
is talking about when we talked about the amount of consoles. There are a limited amount of consoles in the world, and chances are, a lot of people think there's a warehouse of PS5 sitting somewhere. There's not.
Right. If they can sell them,
yes,
they're getting them. Yeah.
They want to sell every single one, and they do. They send every single one out.
It's like going to a store and saying, hey, I'm looking for this toy. Can you check and see if there's any in the back? No, there are not. They want to sell those things.
So many times I would walk back there, go to the bathroom real quick, look around, and come back out. Sorry,
I couldn't find it. I thought we might have, but man, turns out our secret box of them is gone.
You know what I had in the back, in my store? About 50 copies of ATV, for whatever.
ATV versus motocross.
Exactly that, yes.
Barbie Horse Adventures.
Whatever the PS2 or PS3 bundle-in game that would get traded in immediately.
Yeah.
Yes, I had so many of that crap back there.
We got this.
Yes.
How about this instead?
Fable. I had like 20 Fables all bundled up in the back.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. They want to sell their consoles. They're not secretly they're doing maybe deceptive things about where they're going and holding them back to create demand, but they're still going to get those out there anyway.
So if you take pre-orders 6 months ahead of time, they don't know how many consoles they're going to have in 6 months.
Right. You could have an estimate, but what if the factory breaks down?
Exactly.
Lots of things that go into it. What if your shipping lines break down? What if a pandemic happens? And all of a sudden, you're pre-established. These things start to fall apart. Amazon has to lay off a bunch of people.
Yep.
Okay. Second theory, and I think this is the better one. What if only Sony and Microsoft, from their websites, took the pre-orders? What if you couldn't actually pre-order they still gave them to retailers, but you could only pre-order them through the manufacturer, the main company sites.
Well, you can't control a retailer, so you can't say, I'll
only
give you my PS5 if you don't do pre-orders.
We've determined...
They'll say, no, we won't sell your system then.
We've seen that, you can't control Walmart even if it's just hey, wait 6 hours. Nah, we're good.
Let's be very, very honest here. Walmart has more power over the PS5 than Sony does.
Because they're the ones
the selling of the PS5.
Right. They're they're the middleman that it's actually putting it in the hands of the consumer.
Right. And so Microsoft did that this year. There were opportunities to pre-order from Microsoft directly.
Sure.
And that's fine. You can do that. But the majority of the world still doesn't have high-speed internet access or reliable shipping.
That's a good point.
Things like that. A huge chunk of the world.
Huge chunk of the USA.
Yeah, rural USA, they don't get Amazon all the time.
And if you are competing against everybody for that split-second sales, for another example, when we're trying to get tickets to PAX, you literally have like 12 seconds. Like you have to be on the
Yes.
site, refreshing, trying to get on there, and you still might not.
And then scalpers come in, and it's
right.
the
That was a
worst.
huge problem this time too. I've seen PS5s on sale for like $2,000. Like
Yeah, it was
yeah.
exact same thing for the PS3, Xbox 360 launch.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Exact
it's always
same
true.
thing.
That I don't know how
Wii-
you can combat that.
I said this last time, but I had a mom threaten my life over the Wii when I worked at GameStop. It was legitimately like, we're out of Wiis, and if I were to kill you, would that change things? Like,
I'd like you to ask your
No.
question again, but actually listening to it, because how would it?
yeah,
How would it? Even if you're being like facetious, like, do you think I'm gonna be nicer to you? You're now like a thief. You're now like a burglar.
it was a wild time. It was-
That sounds great. Retail sounds really fun. I'm glad I've never had a true retail job because it sounds like a nightmare.
it is very much
okay,
that.
so how then could the launch experience? We have to balance that, walk that line of being like, hey, the consumer you should be better to the consumer, but also, like, there's still companies trying to make money.
Right. Well, what a lot of people forget when they say, ooh, screw Sony, screw Microsoft, or even screw Walmart or whatever else.
Well,
is,
Walmart's bad for a lot of reasons.
Right. But they're also an organization that employs hundreds of thousands of people. And if a bad thing were to happen to Amazon, there's a lot of people who wouldn't have jobs anymore. And that would be bad.
Sure.
They
Just
should
treat
be
your employees better,
Yeah,
is what
they
I'm
would be
saying.
better to their employees. Yes,
Be
please.
a better company.
But also, there are human beings that work there, and we got to be considerate to them. So
Right.
we can't just say, how can we screw the man?
No, yeah, that is an immature way to look at it. What we want to talk about is, are there ways to maybe balance that between understanding whether or not I'm not a fan of the form of capitalism that we have today. I'm not a fan of massive billionaire-run companies that screw over their employees,
Right.
but also understanding companies can't exist and that's their goal is to make money. But also, hey, the consumer should probably be treated well. So
Yes,
how do we
please.
walk that line?
So what it comes down to is that the retailer almost specifically has to be willing for things to be fine. Okay, good. Like acceptable. Which, not bad. I want to be very clear. This wouldn't be bad
Yeah.
for the goal of being pro-consumer.
Right. You said it the other way. The way you put it was, it doesn't have to be one is bad and one is good. It can be neutral for the retailer and good for the consumer.
Right. And so in this situation that I have in my head, the retailer always waits until an estimate, a console estimate from Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo.
Right.
We estimate this is how many you're going to get. Then they do a limited pre-order of 90%.
Yeah.
90% of that.
Undersell what they're probably going to get.
Exactly. And then, you know what? Sony or Microsoft says, dang it, we're not going to get you that many systems. Cool.
We got a little bit of
undersold.
leeway.
We got some buffer room there. Or even we say, hey, only 2 or 3 people are going to get their consoles. We call them immediately and say, hey,
here's the deal.
We were just communicated by Sony or Microsoft that we're getting less consoles.
Please come back in. We'll give you your money
Yep,
back.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it gives time to be able to do stuff like that. But the retailer has to be willing to do that. Most retailers don't want to do that. They want to get somebody to pre-order with them so that person is thinking, when I buy my controllers, when I buy my games, it's with Walmart who I pre-ordered with. It's with GameStop who I pre-ordered with. And so it's right now, it's exclusively beneficial for the retailer and detrimental for the consumer.
Right.
But it works for them. That's what sucks.
Sure.
And really, this would work because if you had the nightmare would be leftover systems for a retailer, but that's an impossible situation. You will sell those consoles.
What we said at the beginning of this was, hey, it's only getting bigger.
Yes.
The PS5 sold, I'll repeat it, in the first 12 hours of the PS5 pre-order window, it sold more than the first 12 weeks of the PS4.
It's insane.
Like, it's only going up. So if we're using the numbers of 45 and 50, 90% of 50 would be 45. Like, if we're saying, oh, there's 5 left, you have 5 extra or something, do you think those aren't going to be sold? Like, especially right now when we're coming up on Christmas, like, do you think, like, what company is going to say, oh no, only the pre-orders are going to be sold? There's not people going to be lining up for blocks to try. That's already what happens.
Yes.
It couldn't happen this year because of, COVID, but that's already what happens is that people line up for days to try to get a console.
So if a retailer were to step up and say, hey, we're going to be real honest with you guys. We're expecting X amounts of consoles. That's what we've been communicated from Microsoft.
Right.
We're preparing to reserve 90% of them. Our reservations open up at this time. They close when we run out.
Yes.
And you can come get one. And because you can't stop scalping. Scalping would be the problem there, but you can't stop scalping.
That already happens.
It happens.
It's
no
not
matter
a new.
what.
It wouldn't
Right.
be a new problem.
It's
just a problem.
And I
that
hate
still
it.
exists.
And hey, if you're a scalper, you're a bad human being.
Go jump off a bridge.
Stop it. But you're literally profiting off of other people's misery. So stop it.
Right.
But the problem there is that the only problem I see with that is JCPenney tried something like this a while back.
Yeah.
We talked about this before where JCPenney tried something where they said, hey, everybody, we are going to be 100% honest with you. There are places like Kohl's that bump up their prices 25% and then say that everything is 25% off and sell you things at exactly the same price. We're not going to lie to you like that.
Right.
We want you, the consumer, to know we're honest. We're going to be 100% true with you. Here are our honest prices on everything.
Yeah, we don't have fake sales. We don't have sales at all. Here's the real price.
Right. And it failed miserably.
And JCPenney is now a bust.
Yes.
I mean, that's all big department stores. But yeah, it failed miserably.
And because there's a sense of agency that people want that they're getting a deal or they got that at the last minute.
I'm a thrifty consumer because I got something on sale.
Right.
When in reality, no, you didn't. I mean, technically you did, but you didn't pay any less than you would have if it was regular, So there's a lot of psychology that goes into how all this works, and
Very much so.
That's a real problem.
I've said this 100 times before on the podcast. Well, maybe I haven't said it on the podcast, but anyway, that we had security cameras in GameStop that were 10% for security and 90% because a marketing person would come by every month, take the video, and they'd send it to marketing and they'd watch how people shop.
Interesting.
And then we would get marketing every month and we would change the layout of our store depending on how people shopped from the previous month. And so if people wanted those PlayStation games right away, well, we literally had to move all those games to the back and then put our bargain bins in the front and change the lookout.
Yeah, it's like how a grocery store works.
Exactly.
You put the staples in the back so you pass by the things you might get a couple of times while you're walking through the store before you get to those things you're going to get.
So there was a lot of psychology that goes into marketing. And I mean, for example, literally right now, I came home with a big thing of hamburger and my mother-in-law who was watching my kids saw that and she's like, is that on sale? And I said, yes, it's for this much. And she said, I need to go today then. Like, it's just that knowledge of I need it now.
That's a big old tube of meat.
And so it was a big old tube of hamburger meat. That's true. So to apply this to consoles, let's say that GameStop gains some scruples and does exactly this. And then Walmart says, anybody can pre-order here. Everybody come on by. We'll take all the pre-orders. We're not limiting our pre-orders. We'll take all of them. Hey, people are going to go pre-order with Walmart. Maybe. Probably.
Yeah. That's the real, like, GameStop. We dunked a lot on GameStop because they've made bad decisions. We talked about one of them earlier in this episode. But like, I feel like one of the ways I wouldn't fix everything, but one of the ways they could definitely be a better company and maybe right the ship a little bit is to kind of there was a time when I think maybe it was Domino's where they said, hey guys, we're going to change how we do pizza and it's going to be good now.
Yes.
And it was like a funny, laughable thing, but also,
their pizza's pretty good now.
Sure, whatever, if you like it or not, but it's still like an admission of like, hey, we didn't do things great. We're going to try to make changes. And if GameStop said, hey, we're going to change things now. Yeah. Like, here's the actual price. This specifically launches, it probably would apply to other stuff. But for a launch, like, we can't guarantee you'll get this. Here's what we've been told, and here's what we're doing. And if things change, we will let you know. But there's a pretty good chance you'll get what you pre-order here. Whereas you go to Walmart, and they just dunk on other companies, like, you might not.
Yeah.
There's a good chance you won't.
Man, I think there's a group of people, particularly like those who do a lot of online shopping, who would be all for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's mostly people retail, like go into the store shoppers that really like finding the sale and walking in and seeing the sale sign over
right,
something.
and that's not much of a thing anymore.
Right. That's pretty much how Kohl's survives.
Yeah.
But that's you're right. That's kind of not as much of a thing anymore. And if GameStop were to step up, or somebody were to step up and try something like that, like, hey, we recognize we've been pretty shady in the past. We want to change that. Here are our new standards.
Yeah.
Please come to GameStop.
Tell us what store you're going to be picking it up in, and we'll tell you that this is how many pre-orders we have. We're sorry it might be sold out, but we can't. We can't in good conscience sell you something we don't know we'll have.
Right.
Like,
right.
if you use that phrase, I'd like you a little bit more.
Absolutely,
like,
yes.
Yeah.
And your attitude toward a retailer makes more and more of a difference these
100%.
days. Previously, nobody gave a crap if JCPenney was a good person. Right,
buying.
exactly.
Yeah,
but today,
the transparency of the internet and just these ideas has really affect. We're getting into a whole new topic that we didn't get into last time, but that would really affect, I think, hopefully for the next launch in 7 years, maybe there'll be some real big shifts in how this all works.
Or maybe it'll shift the other direction.
Or it'll be even worse.
Be horrendous.
And there'll be no new consoles, and we'll just buy the idea of a console. They'll say no takebacks, and then we'll say, dang it.
That was something that happened.
I'll just buy another PS5, I
Again,
guess.
literally things that I experienced for these launches is that people would go on eBay and sell a box.
Yeah.
Like, I have the PS5 box. I'm selling it for $100. Please buy it. And then people would just instinctively see the box,
right?
See $100.
That's a PS5.
Buy.
That's a good price.
And then it gets shipped, and they say it's empty, and you'd say it's a box. It's literally what it's listed as.
Yeah.
Like, and
yeah, PS5 factory packaging.
Yes,
something like that. That sounds a little legit. Anyway. That's what we got for you today. Thank you very much. I'm doing the outro this time because you did a lot of talking.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. Tell us what you think about how your console launch experience went. Did you even try? We're kind of shills, kind of a little bit hypocritical on all this because we
got
literally
PS5
waited up
as soon as
possible and then got there as soon as possible. Anyway, tell us about how your experience with the whole purchasing process. If you even got what you pre-ordered. Let us know what you think, retailers could do better or, your experience with it. We want to thank... you do that one.
Yeah, we'll say big thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song.
That one's on you.
All my friends have Wi-Fi and some of my neighbors do too, off of the album Dear Sam. Hey guys, if you have not checked out Granger, they are very good. You will like their music or else.
Yeah, do it or we'll find you. Go check out our YouTube channel if you're not listening to this there. We have a lot of games. We're going to have even more coming up soon.
Yeah.
I have my Spider-Man Miles Morales playthrough is going to come up sometime in the next couple weeks. Lots of stuff going on. You're playing Bugsnax right now.
Yes.
I think you're recording that. Yeah, we've got a lot going up on there. So go check it out. We've got a lot of videos.
Yep.
And thank you so much for watching.
And always remember that save games, save lives.
See you next week.
My voice sings